All right, let's see how we can install Sage Enterprise Intelligence on a brand new Windows 2022 server, which has Sage X3 installed on that by default. So what we need to do is, first of all, we need to download the SEI installation media from SEI website or from your partner. So make sure you have these files ready and handy before we start. So the first component to install is the license server. So you find the license server component installer here and double click on that and click yes. So you'll be taken through a wizard and click next here, accept the terms and next. So in here you need to choose the type of your database. So it supports both SQL Server and Oracle. I am using SQL Server, so I'm going to go with next. And then it asks you where to put the SEI files. So I'm going to put everything on my D drive. I'm going to change this and get rid of the first section. Click OK there, and it automatically changes the second item as well. Click next there. Now it asks you where is your database. So if your database is already on this current server, chances are if you click on this field, it will find your database instance. So click on that. If not, you'll need to get it from your database admin or your SQL Server Management Studio. For the login ID, I'm going to go with SA because I have the SA credentials. If you do not have the SA credentials or the customer is not willing to share with you their SA credentials, you need to ask them to create another database admin account for this purpose, and you need to use that here. So I'm going to put in the SA password and click next. And if it tries to log into SQL automatically, if it fails to log in, it will give you an error. So when you're here, it means you have been successful in logging into SQL. So I click install. And this will quickly run a script that will create a BI license database on your SQL server. The next component to install is the central point. So I'm going to find the central point file. And let me extend this a little bit so you can see the full file names. So there is a SEI central point for SQL Server and Oracle. Double click on that. Click yes there. Click next here. Accept the terms and next. Again, we choose SQL Server and we are not using a multi-tenant installation. It's all single tenant, so I'm not going to tick that one. Go next there. Again, I'm going to change this installation path to the Sage. Click OK. Next here. So it asks you for a central point name. The default is central point. I'm going to just leave it as that. Next. Now in here, you need to give the system some sort of SMTP credentials, so it will be able to send you your usernames and passwords for new users. So make sure you ask these credentials and SMTP ID stuff from your network admin or domain admin and put that in here. So sending out emails to customers, including their passwords, as well as distribution of reports to your internal users would be possible. So click next there. And again, I'm going to choose the database from here, the SA password. Next. Now it says where the license server database is located, which we just created in the last wizard. So if it doesn't find the database instance, you can click the browse button here and browse for a database instance, or you can just type in the database name manually in that field. So I just chose the browse button. Let's see how it does it. So it found it for me. I'm going to click OK. And next, and install. We'll wait for this to finish. So it gives us a path in here, which is our central point path. And you just make sure that you have a copy of these paths. So take note of this path. So we will need to use that later when we're configuring SEI. So usually what I do is I take a snapshot of that and save it somewhere safe. So I'm going to click finish. The next component to install is the SEI itself. So if inside the installers, it's the second last file here for me. So double click on that. Yes, there. Click next here. I agree. I'm going to go with basic installation. We will cover advanced installation in another tutorial, but today we're going to go with basic installation. And in here, choose and change the installation path to D if you wish to do so. So I'm going to go with my D drive. I'm going to go with Sage. And I'm going to create a folder here called SEI. And I'm going to select that folder. Click next there. Now in here, you need to choose the protocol for your BI service. I'm going to go with HTTP. You can go with HTTPS if you have the right signed certificates to give the system. I don't, so I'm going to go with HTTP, but the best practice is going with HTTPS. And logging into the SEI service, I'm going to go with the default custom account and going to choose the runtime user which I created for X3. You can have another user which is specifically created for SEI, but I'm just going to go with the X3 one. I'm going to click next. Again, this is for the application pool, so I'm going to go with the custom account again as well. Put in X3 admin here and my password. And take note of this port. By default, the way you access the web client for SEI is port 81. If this port is taken by another process or another application, then you need to change this. I'm going to go with the default port. So click on next. This is for the scheduler API. The default port is 8138. So again, I'm going to go with the custom account. And the central point, it automatically detects the central point that's been installed on this server. If you want to use a different central point on a different server or another scenario, you'll need to manually enter that here. I'm happy with this choice, so I'm clicking next. So this gives you a summary of all your options. You may want to take a snapshot of this and keep a record of it. And I'm going to click next, install. So this will install all the prerequisites for Windows, which is the Internet Information Services, all the .NET Framework additions or features that it needs. And that's the benefit of this new version of SEI, so you don't really need to go and do all these feature installations beforehand. So it takes care of all that automatically. And if you don't have iOS or all those features installed by default, this installer is going to take longer than usual. But give it some time and it will finish in time. Great, so now that SEI is installed, exit this wizard. And the next component to install is the OLAP for SQL Server. If you are licensed for OLAP, you can install this component. So click on yes there. Next here, I accept and next. And again, choose the database. So this is where it's going to put your data warehouse or OLAP cube. And as I mentioned, you need to have a license for that for SEI. Otherwise, you don't need to go through this installation wizard. I'm going to give it the SA password. You can choose to put your cube database into another database just to make things lighter in your main database, but for the sake of simplicity, going through the same database. So click on next here, change this to D, and next here, and install, and finish. The next component to install is the Excel add-in. So in order for the distribution of reports in Excel format to work, you'll need to have already installed a version of Microsoft Excel on the server of SEI. So I have installed the latest version of Excel on this machine, and if I go to my start menu, I can see that. So you need to do that on the server if you are licensed for distribution of reports. So once Excel is installed, then you need to come here and run the Excel add-in installer. Click next there. It's gonna find out that you don't have the right prerequisites. If it does so, click on install and it will take care of that. And it will continue. Pretty straightforward and easy. Click next here. I accept and next. It's asking you if your office is 32-bit or 64-bit. You'll need to choose the right answer here. If you're not sure, you need to go into your about window of your office and find out whether you are using a 64-bit or 32-bit. I'm not going to cover that. By default, my installer gave me a 64-bit, so I'm going to go next here. I'm going to choose regular installation, so go next here and install. And finish here. So the next thing we need to do is we need to go to the start menu and go to run. So open the run app and in here type MMC, Microsoft Management Console. So click OK there, click yes here, and go to the file menu, go to add or remove snap-in, and in here choose component services. Click on add here and click OK. Now on the component services, expand that tree and go to computers, go to my computer, and then go to decom config. So in here, you need to find Microsoft Excel component. So scroll down, this is sorted alphabetically. So in here, find Microsoft Excel application, right click on it and click properties. Go to identity tab and make sure that it is actually on the launching user. That's fine. So now go to security. And in here, you need to customize all these options. So I'm going to click on customize, click on edit, and add my X3 SEI runtime user, which I used during the SEI installation. So I'm going to add the user here, type in my X3 admin account, and check names here. Click OK. Click on that user and give them all these permissions. Click OK there. Do the same thing for these two. So add here, choose the user, click OK and allow. And here as well, click add, check names, click OK and give them the permissions. Click OK here, apply and OK. Okay, so once the installation of all these applications are done, we need to log into the SEI's web client. So in order to log into the web client, what we need to do is to put in the computer name of our device and followed by the port number. So I'm going to put the computer name of my server, and I use port 81 during the installation, so I'm going to use that. So then this page will load, which is the Sage Enterprise Intelligence login page. Now I'm logging in here for the first time, so I'm going to type in admin and admin in here. So both username and password by default are admin. And I'm going to click login. So the first time you log in, the server is going to ask you to enter your SEI license key. You need to obtain this key from Sage or your partner and enter it here. So wait for that prompt to appear. And I'm going to enter my license here and click next. Then I need to accept the terms and click completed. It's now going to check if my license is valid with SEI servers, and if it is, I'll be able to log in. If you get any error messages at this stage, like your license is active on another server or your license has expired, you need to contact your Sage support channel to get that resolved. So wait for this function to load in for the first time. It's going to be a bit slow when you do it for the first time. Great. So we are inside SEI now, and there are some notifications, so we can get rid of that. As you can see on the left, there is no data models or anything ready. And the reason for that is we need to connect our SEI system to our Sage X3 folder and import the pre-built Sage Enterprise Intelligence data models for Sage X3, which are called the templates. So in the next video, I'll show you how to do that. So once we are inside SEI, we click on administration and we need to create those data sources. So click on the environment and data sources. In here, the system has already created an environment for you called production. This is used to link to your production or live Sage X3 folder. We're going to use this to connect to our seed folder, but we can use it to connect to your live folder as well. So click on this production and then click on the data sources section, click on add, and then give this thing a name. So this data source Description, we're going to give it a name. For example, I'm going to give it the name of Sage X3 data source. The type of the database is SQL Server. I'm going to type in the name of my server as the database server name. So I'm going to copy this URL here and paste it here. And if you're using a named instance, you need to put that in here. So for me, I'm using Sage. For the database name, you need to choose the database name that hosts your Sage X3 database. So if you're not sure about any of these, you need to run the SQL Server Management Studio on your server. So I'm going to run that to find out what my database name is. Once the SQL Server Management Studio option opens, you have the server name / instance name. This is what we use to copy into SEI. And you'll need to log into SEI or any other database admin that has been created for you. So once you've successfully logged in, if you go to databases and expand that, you will see all the tables that are in the databases that Sage SEI installers have created for you, including these 3 tables, but this is the database that hosts our Sage X3 tables. So we're going to put this database name into our SEI. So this is the database name for my server, X3DB. And in here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my database schemas for my folder. So I'm going to click on plus. And here I'm going to type in my database name dot my folder name, which is in this case seed, but you can change it to your production folder name. Click on the plus button again, and this time type your database name again, and this time type in SEI underline your folder name. Click on empty space. Now in the SEI schema, type in the second item that you typed in without the database name. So I'm going to type in SEI underline seed. So basically you're telling the system which one of these is actually the schema for SEI. For the authentication strategy, you can go user specific and give it the username that you're given for your SEI usage. I'm going to go with SA and give the SA password here. I'm going to save this, close this, and try to validate. So you should get this success message. So we're done with the X3 data source. Now we need to create another data source for our cube. So click on the add button here and give this instance a name. I'm going to give the description of OLAP data source. Again, the database type is SQL Server, and my server name is, I'm going to copy that again from my SQL Server Management Studio. So I'm going to copy that and paste it here. Note that this server could be a different server than your data source server. This is just for your data warehouse. So the database name for the cube, you need to give it a new name. So I'm going to give it like SEI cube. And then here, I'm going to, on the database schema name, I'm going to add a new schema called SEI cube dot SEI underline seed. So this is an entirely new database, And under that, we're going to create this database space or schema. And here we're going to verify that. So in the SEI underline seed is going to be our SEI schema. And in here, we're going to go user specific and our username and password for SA. Going to save that. And now we click on this option. So it gives us an additional field in here. And basically what we need to do is to just copy this value in there and paste it in there. So this becomes our data warehouse schema. Save this and validate this. We have added all the data sources and data source definitions required for our seed or any other folder. You can add multiple folders or environments here by pressing the add button and configuring as such. For now, I'm configuring production as seed. Next step would be loading the pre-built data models or templates into SEI, which are designed for Sage X3. In order to install the templates for Sage X3, you'll need to go to the templates section and then click on import templates and click on confirm here. So you must have already downloaded the Sage X3 templates from SEI website or your partner or Sage. So this is a zip file that should have been given to you. It's called Sage X3 templates or anything like that. And if you go inside that, there is multiple folders in there. So I'm going to right click on this and extract it on the Sage X3 templates folder. So if I go to Sage X3 templates, I can see that there is DataSync, Excel add-in, Sage X3 patch, and web client. So what we're interested in is the web client section. And depending on your version, which is most likely version 7 and above, we'll need to import the zip file into SEI. So let's go back to SEI now. And on the import template section, there is a button here called select file. So I'm going to select that. Then I'm going to my D drive. I'm going to media, Sage X3 templates, web client, and this file. Just open there. Now it's going to ask you to which environments would you like to import these templates. So on your Sage X3 data source, and you have the OLAP database. So click on these fields here. In here, choose Sage X3 data source. And for the OLAP database, choose your OLAP data source. Once you have made these selections, click next. This will now upload the template files into the server and load any data models that have not been installed on the server, selects them, and then you're ready to install them. So give this wizard a few seconds while it loads. Now it has detected that none of these models have been previously installed, so you can choose to add them. They've already been added by default for you. If you're doing a update on SEI, then you'll need to import these templates again with the new template version, and then you'll have the update ticked for those that have already been installed. So these are already selected for me. All I need to do now is click on next here. So that process took me almost 10 minutes to complete. So it's a quite a heavy process. So once that is fully executed, it will show you all the environment that you created. So you have the option of importing these templates on those environments. So by default, my environment's all selected. So I have just one environment here. You can deselect any environment that you would not like to be updated. So once you tick the environment, then each environment will have its own column here. So I have only one, so I have only one column here. So in here, in the first item, I need to enter my SEI database schema name, which I entered in the environment. So I'm gonna type in here SEI underscore seed, which was HCI underline my folder name. And this is just my folder name, so I'm going to enter seed here. And this is my folder currency in my folder setup. If you don't know what currency is your folder currency, you need to go to X3 and find it out from there. So I've entered all this. For seed is always euros. For your folder, it could be something else. So after all these parameters are entered, you click next, and it will now try to run those scripts on your database to create the data models. So I give this a few minutes and it will show you the results. Great, so it's showing me all the results and most of them have been successful, so which is a good sign. If you scroll a little bit down, you will see that some of them have failed, which are mostly to do with project management, PJM objects if it's a production folder. But since all of those activity codes are enabled on the seed folder, they are all successful. But on your production folder or live folder, you should see most of these items checked. So once you're happy with these results, so it says there was 58 successes and 0 failures, which is great. Now, these executions are done and scripts are done. So all I need to do now is go to the environment section again, click confirm here, and on my environment's name there is a button here. So I need to click this button, and in the parameters I need to give these parameters again. So in here it's called SEI underline folder name. In here it's called the folder name. You don't need to specify a server name here, and you need to just put in the folder currency here. So click on that and click run. It's going to give you this warning that it's going to drop all the scripts and all the tables it has created previously and run and create them again. So you need to have and confirm that you are happy for it to do that. So click on yes here. Now what it will do is it will go and run those scripts on your database to create the custom objects. Great, so it's back with the results that it has done the script executions. And again, you should see that most of them have succeeded. So there has been 290 successes and 4 failures, which is good. Most of the failures are because of project management modules and other things, which are okay. So I'm going to close this, cancel this one. Now, if I go to home, click on the home button here. Now I can see there's a Sage X2 folder created here, and there's all the data models and Redis use reports based on the seed folder, which are created here. So the environment selection is here. I have only one environment, so I can only select that. And in here, if I go to sales, I can see all the reports and data models already created for me. In order to install the Excel add-in on the client endpoints who are using SEI's Excel add-in in their Excel program, as well as on the server itself, in order to help the scheduler to distribute the Excel reports, you'll need to install the SEI Excel add-in on every single one of those endpoints and computers, and as well as the server. So we already did that in the installation tutorial, but you need to do this again and again on every single computer that is going to use the Excel add-in. So you'll need to basically go back to the installation media of SEI and install this installer on those computers after installing Excel, of course. So when you do that, when you open Excel, chances are you will automatically see the add-in tab in here and you'll see the SEI buttons in there. But if the installer did not manage to automatically add the add-in to your Excel instance, you need to enable the developer ribbon in Excel if it's not already here. So if it's not there, right click on the any blank space on the ribbon and go to customize the ribbon, and then on the left enable the developer tab. So once you do that, then you have the developer tab here, and then what you need to do is you need to click on Excel add-ins and see if the SEI Excel add-in is already here. If it is, tick it and enable it. If it's not, click the browse button and browse to where you install the Excel add-in component. So for this example, I used the C drive on Sage folder. My apologies, in C drive in program files and in Sage, and then SEI add-in for Excel. And in here, if you scroll down, you will see this file. So click OK there, and then it will add this option here and tick it automatically for you. So click OK. Once you do that, it will load the Excel add-in tab for you. So there is an add-in tab added here. Go in there and you'll see all these buttons for connecting to SEI using Excel. So for the first time, what you'll need to do is you'll need to click on Change User, and it will load up a window for you to enter your SEI login credentials. So click on this new central point adding button, and now in here we'll need to enter our central point path. So I'm gonna put my central point path here. In the service address, what you need to do is you'll need to put in the server name. So if you use HTTP, use HTTP, and if you use HTTPS, enter HTTPS, colon, //, and then you'll need to put in the server name. So I'm going to put the server name, and the port by default is 4504. In the web URL, you need to put in the same thing. And this is the login page, which is the web client. So my default port was 81, and I used that. So I'm going to add that. And now it adds the central point here. So now you'll need to enter your login credentials. If you're using a domain, use a domain. I'm going to log in using the default admin account just to test that I have access now. And you can tick this box to keep you signed in, but I'm not going to do that for now. I'm going to click on login. As soon as that wizard disappears and does not appear again, means that you're already logged in. So in order to test that we have logged in, we can go to a formula wizard and then click on the data model, choose add reference, and now click on this option, and you can see that we have all the data models that we imported in the previous video here. So say for example in invoice analysis, environment is production, and I can add all these fields to be added. Perfect. So my Excel admin is also working now.